Hi, Istanbul. Hi, I'm Oriana. Nice seeing you. I'm Oriana, and I'm here in Delft, in the Netherlands. I don't know if you know Delft. It's a small medieval town in the west side of the Netherlands, and I'm probably like most of you in my living room, and you're probably watching also from your living room or bedroom or kitchen somewhere. But my story tonight, it's not going to be about the Netherlands. It's actually going to be about Romania, because I'm originally from Romania. And I'm very happy, by the way, in my living room here. I'm not alone tonight. I'm happy that I'm not alone. I have a few friends who join me. It's Corona times, and we are not allowed to have too many people in our house, but it's nice to have a little audience here so that I connect a little bit with them, and that's where I can connect with you. So let me take you back to December 1989 in Romania, and I'm 12 years old, and I'm in my living room, just like now, and I'm hanging on my sofa, looking at the curtains and looking on the other wall where there's this wallpaper with trees and a mountain scenery on it. And I'm a bit bored and a bit excited as well, because my Christmas holiday just started. And as I'm thinking for myself, what shall I do in this holiday? How shall I spend my time? My mother in the kitchen starts to yell at me, Oriana, turn on the television right now, the Romanian television. I'm a bit blocked. Like, what? It's the middle of the day. We don't have any TV during the day in Romania. We only have like 2 hours in the evening, and it's more or less all propaganda. So I'm still thinking, as my mother, she really rushed into the room. She opens the TV and she sits next to me and she says, Ceausescu is going to give a speech on TV, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be about Timișoara. Well, I'm 12, but I know exactly what she means, because since December the 17th, a few days ago, my parents and I, and all our friends, we are literally glued to the radio called Radio Free Europe, which is, of course, an illegal radio station broadcast from Western Germany, but we all listen to it because this is our lifeline to life outside of Romania. But now we know that since December 17, something is happening in Timișoara, and we don't know exactly what it is, but we know that there's a reverend who stood up against Ceausescu and the system, and people started to protect him, and they went on the streets, and then the militia and the army, they started shooting at people, and it's a complete mess there. But the Romanian news and television and newspapers says nothing about it, absolutely nothing. So yeah, maybe Ceausescu is going to talk. So we sit in front of the television, and yes, there is a broadcasting. There's a broadcasting, and I see Bucharest. And I see this big square filled with people, surrounded by big buildings, and the people are there, holding flags, the communist flag, the red one with a hammer and a sickle, and the Romanian flag, and there's a balcony, and yes, on that balcony, Nicolae Ceausescu arrives with his wife, Elena. Okay, and he started to speak. I'm looking at my mom and I'm listening, and I say, Mom, but he talks the way he always talks. He says the same sentences he always says. He even waves his hand the way he does. Do you think that he's really going to say something? But right when I say these words, I hear a sound there on television, on the back of that square filled with people. I hear a sound, and the sound is building and building, and it's coming closer, and the sound, it translates into words, and the words forms a sentence, and the sentence is, down with Ceausescu, jos Ceausescu. My mom and I, we are standing on our tiptoes. And then we hear people on that square starting booing and yelling and saying, down with Ceausescu, we want freedom. And there's complete chaos over there. And Ceausescu himself and his wife, they're going, calm down, calm down. But there's more chaos, and there are helicopters flying all over this square. And then the broadcast is being interrupted as Ceausescu and his wife are taken back with the bodyguards. I'm totally hyped. I don't know what to think, what to say. My mother decided to walk in the living room and saying out loud, okay, Oriana, this is actually happening. It's really happening. There's a riot in Bucharest now. First in Timișoara, now Bucharest is probably going to be like a revolution, and we don't know what's going to happen. So think. You know what you have to do? You have to take the food stamps for our bread, and you have to go to the bakery and get as much bread as you can have, because we don't know what's going to happen next. I'm too shocked to say anything. I just grab my coat and go. I arrive at the bakery completely out of breath. And as I walk into the bakery, I see that the shelves are empty. Now, there's nothing new about it. The shelves in our supermarkets are usually empty. But I asked the lady behind the counter, I asked her, is there still bread arriving today? Is there any bread coming? And the lady, she's just like, doing her nails, saying, the car, the van with the bread just left the factory. It's going to be here in half an hour, who knows? Now there's already a queue. There are already people lining up, waiting for the bread. So I go and take my place in this row. And I look around, and people are staring at the noses of the shoes. They are looking at the ceiling. They are staring outside of the window. They do anything but make eye contact. It's so weird. And all I want to do is, I want to say something. I want to say, like, didn't you just see what happened on TV? Don't you know that Ceausescu fled? Don't you know that there's a revolution going on or something like that? But I don't dare to say anything because my mother said not to talk to anybody, so I just wait. But after a while, there's this guy, probably a young guy. I'm 12. Anyone who looks older than 16 is old to me. So he's probably in his 20s. He walks to the counter, he turns around and he says, hey, people, you do know that Ceausescu fled, right? And then people start mumbling, yeah, we heard something, yeah, maybe. And said, yeah, really, there's something going on. Maybe we'll be free. Maybe things will start changing in this country. And people started to chat and to share. And maybe we'll be free, and maybe we can go outside and we can talk to whoever we want. And people are chatting and cheering, and I'm chatting with them. I feel so important that I share my ideas. And then bread is arriving. And as I'm taking my place in line, I arrive at the counter and I give this lady our bread food stamps. We are allowed to have a half a bread a person a day. Now, maybe half a bread sounds a lot, but the breads are really very small. And my parents and we don't really eat a lot of bread, so I didn't buy bread for the last 3 days. So I asked for the bread for the former 3 days, and today, and the day after today. So with a bag full of bread for 5 days, I turn around and I look at the people in the row behind me. And for the first time ever in my life, I see hope and kindness in their eyes. Now, I want to tell you a bit more about my life as a 12-year-old in Romania. I go to school every day wearing the same uniform every day, the same uniform I'm wearing and everybody else in my school is wearing, and everybody else in all the other schools in town are wearing, and all the other schools in the whole country. We all learn from the same books, identical books, and we learn from the same methods, and we learn the same things each and every day. Now, we also learn songs and poems, and most of them are about the party, the Socialist Party, the Communist Party, and about Ceausescu. You know, Ceausescu, he's part of my life, of my everyday life. He is in front of me every day, hanging above our blackboard. He's in each book we have at school as the first page of the books. He's hanging on walls, on buildings, and my ballet school or music class. He's on radio and TV and a newspaper each and every day, front page. We learn at school from day one. We've learned, about his life, what kind of hero he is. He's really fighting for our lives and for Romania, and he is really going to make Romania great. And there's one thing that I really find a bit annoying, and I'm embarrassed. It's actually when I went to school, in first class. We were learning about Ceausescu and also how he wants the best for us, right? He wants the best for us, for each and one of us, but also for the country. And he is our father. And Elena Ceausescu, she's our mother. So one day I went home, I had a bit of a tummy ache and I felt a bit weird, but I had to ask my mother, Mommy, is Ceausescu my dad? And then my mom looked at me like, what? And I said, look, I know, you and I look a lot like each other, so I know that you're my mom, but at school they told us that Ceausescu is our dad, so maybe he is? And then my mom was like, oh my fucking God, this is exactly why your dad and I, we didn't let you go to kindergarten because we didn't want you to be so brainwashed, but he's still doing this. This is absolutely ridiculous. And I felt ridiculous for asking, but yeah, what can I do? I had to ask. These songs, these poems that we've learned about Ceausescu. I mean, the poems I forgot, really, I forgot now in 2020, I don't remember them, but the songs, I have friends in Romania that are still very good friends. I have friends that I played with when I was young and I did homework with, and we celebrated, holidays and stuff with, and when I see them, when I'm visiting or they are visiting me here, we eat and drink and share about our lives and what we've been doing. But sooner or later, we start talking about the olden times, right? We start talking about ourselves when we were kids, and we start talking about our shared memories. And sooner or later, we look each other in the eye, we'll have some more wine, and then all at once, we will start. Am cravata mea, sunt pionier și mă mândresc, or Partidul Ceausescu România, or Drept înainte, and all these kinds of songs that we used to sing week in, week out, every single week, and they're just there. They don't go away. Because I was doing these songs at school, during music hour or just rehearsals, and also at schools assemblies. We had schools assemblies at least once a month, sometimes more often. And these assemblies were, of course, on a Sunday because, that's what a Sunday is for. There's no religion or church, there's just the school's assembly. And at school's assembly, I'm wearing the pioneer uniform. I'm wearing the pioneer uniform and everybody's wearing that. And we pledge to the flag, about the communist flag. And we pledge to follow our leader, and we sing songs and we tell stories and we tell poems about him. And this pioneer uniform is really something, we get that. We all become pioneers in a second year at school, in the second class. And by becoming a pioneer, we are the youth, we are the future of the Socialist Party. And you have to behave accordingly. If you do good at school and you behave as a good youth communistic pioneer should do, you get stripes on your uniform. And that shows, good communist behavior. And if you are top of your class, like you have the greatest grades, you might become a group leader or a class leader. Now, I am a group leader. I do well. I'm a group leader. I'm pretty proud of it. But it's sometimes a challenge because you really need to be an example for the others all the time. And I kind of struggle with that sometimes. For example, at school, we need to do exactly as we're told. And not question anything. For example, if we have a book presentation, we all have this list of books of literature that you have to read, and you have to give a book presentation and a book report, and you don't do it yourself. No. The teacher dictates us word by word what we should write down, and we should write it down exactly as she tells us, and we should memorize it exactly as she tells us. And when we have to give the book report in, we should do it exactly as we were dictated and do it. And I tried to write my own opinion about the book, and that was really a big no. But there are also other things, because, sometimes, they tell us things that really don't make sense, and I can't just shut up. I have a big mouth, and I can't just shut up. And I have to ask questions. For example, we learn things like, the USA and Great Britain, they are very powerful countries in the world. And they are great, but they are bad because they're capitalistic, right? So Romania and Ceausescu, we are doing our best to become as important and as successful as our Great Britain and the USA, but they were bad? Like, why? Or other things like, at history, we learn that we, the Romanians, we are descendants of the Romans on one hand, and the Dacians on the other hand. Now, the Romans, they brought us a lot of things, but one of the most important things is the Latinity of our language. We are Latins and have a Latin language. And the Dacians, they gave us, of course, the country, the land we live in, but also a lot of other stuff. And one of the things is our, one of the most important meals is the mamaliga. Now, that's polenta in more international language. And I'm like, huh? Okay, tovarășa profesoara, what now, Oriana? Now, my history teacher knows that I kind of ask questions. I said, well, I do have a question about that because, the Romans and the Dacians, they met 2,000 years ago and they mingled and, okay, they got Romania. But corn comes from America about 500 years ago. So how can that be in the mamaliga or polenta? Okay, so probably the Dacians had like some other type of corn. No, that's not the thing. That's not the thing. That's not the point. I know. But actually, after this incident, and not only this one, I kind of being a bit too wild, so I'm not the right example. So I'm being called to come forward in front of my classroom, and this little red thing that shows that I'm a group leader is being taken away from me, and I'm being humiliated, and I feel really bad about it. But after a few times taking my breath, I think about my history teacher. She's pretty kind, and after that incident with the mamaliga, she said, Oriana, come here. Listen, you were right. But you also know that I have no choice but to report you. And I knew she had no choice. My mother is fussing around in the living room. The table is set, the plates, the silver cutlery. She puts on the table, she puts filled eggs, her specialty, and the Romanian Russian salad with pickles on top and bell peppers. And my father, he's made the meat. And my grandmother, or my one grandmother, she brought in her specialty, which is aspic. Now, if you like Jell-O, that's great. And my other mother, my grandmother, she is bringing in cozonac, the Romanian panettone, the Romanian Christmas bread. It's Christmas Day, 1989. And we are all in our living room. And my father is going crazy. Even since he knows that Ceausescu, Elena and Nicolae, both of them, they got caught and are being brought to trial, and they promise us they're going to broadcast the trial, he wants to record it somehow. He wants to do that, but we don't have a VCR. No, hardly no one has a VCR. But he's come up with this idea. He's connected our television with some kind of a wire to our band recorder, you know, this big thing with big bands on it. At least he can record the sound of the trial, you know, to have proof that this is really happening. And we are all, you know, sitting in our room, in our living room, and I'm looking around a bit lost because, you know, it's Christmas Day. I'm not even really aware if we have a Christmas tree in our living room, because everything around me is about the revolution and that Ceausescu is gone, and how about this trial? And there on television, there it is, an announcement. Nicolae and Elena Ceausescu, their trial is going to start any minute. Okay, says my father, start recording right now. So I push the recording, we all sit and we start to watch. The broadcast of the trial is being postponed. We're coming back in a few minutes. Okay, stop the recording, rewind. Let's wait. Have an egg, have a drink. The trial of Nicolae and Elena Ceausescu is going to start any minute. Okay, start the recording. Sit down, let's sit down. Okay, let's watch. And it's postponed again. And it goes on like this for hours. We're just eating and drinking and having the TV on all the time and really waiting for it to happen. And then, oh, there they are. Elena and Nicolae Ceausescu, they're being brought in by soldiers, by police officers, I don't know. They're being brought in, and they're being brought into this. What is this? Says my mother. Is this like a court room? What is this? It looks like a cellar, but it doesn't really matter. This is like it's a small room, and the judges, you know, the lawyers and the journalists, they're all sitting next to each other along the walls. And Nicolae and Elena Ceausescu, they are set behind this little table, and they just sit down with the coats on. And I look at them, and all I see is two old, gray, dusty people. But the prosecutor is starting, and he's starting with whatever that's called, you know, he's starting to ask questions and to say, why did you starve the population? Why did you cut off electricity? Why did you put all these people through misery? And then Nicolae Ceausescu replied, I didn't do that. Give me some proof. And then they will deny everything. And then my grandfather would get like very upset. Oh, the liar. Oh, he's been lying for us for so many years. And my father was getting upset, and my mother and everyone. And then there is the verdict. Like, there is the verdict. And the verdict is the death sentence. And right away. Wow. My father looks at his watch and he says, but the whole trial was like an hour and a half. Is that even legal? But what does it really matter? As long as we're free, and as long as our dictator is gone and we are free people, it doesn't really matter. So yes, let's go for it. And then we're watching and we see how Nicolae and Elena Ceausescu, they are brought into this courtyard, and they are put in front of this wall, the backs against the wall with the coats on and the hats on, and the camera is on them, and we're watching, and then the camera just moves and we don't see anything. You know, what's happening? all we hear is fire. And then, a few seconds later, the camera turns back on. And there they are, on the ground, in a pool of blood, dead. I am very excited today. I'm so excited because, you know, this whole revolution thing brought us one extra week of Christmas holiday because everybody doesn't know where to even to start. And today I'm going back to school, but I am a bit excited because you know, okay, mom, really, do you think it's safe? Can I just do this? And my mom says, Oriana, listen, my whole life, I had to wear that ugly uniform. Just wear your normal clothes and don't ever, ever let anyone take that freedom away from you. So I go to school. And as I enter my classroom, I'm so relieved that almost everybody is wearing their normal clothes, except a few lost souls who are still in a uniform. And when I ask them, they're like, well, we didn't know. My parents were afraid. They didn't dare not to wear it. But it doesn't really matter because we're so excited. And, you know, we jump up and down and we hug each other and we ask, like, where were you when Ceausescu was caught? And were you watching live when he was killed? And how did you spend New Year's Eve, our first New Year's Eve in freedom? How was that? And we chat and we talk, and there's a lot of noise in our classroom. And then our class teacher, class mentor, she walks into the classroom and she's like, kids, come on, sit down, take your places. We need you all to calm down. And she's leaning against her desk. And I'm finally sitting and I look at my teacher and she looks back at us. She's smiling. And then I look, and for the first time ever in my life, there's no portrait of Ceausescu hanging above her head. The next days, school is a party. We all take out our books and we shred Ceausescu's portrait and we toss it on the floor and chop on top of it, or we draw, you know, like these little devil horns on top of him. And teachers, you know, they come and go. Some teachers, they don't have any lessons to teach anymore because they were teaching things like, you know, communist ideology and socialist philosophy and this kind of stuff. That's gone. Some people just give lessons, but most of the teachers, they just want to talk, because they can finally talk and share, and they tell us about their youth and about their sacrifice and about all the things they couldn't do. And, you know, our French teacher, she comes into the class with her projector and she is putting on a show of all the pictures she took from Paris somewhere in the 60s when she was a young student and she was still allowed to travel abroad. And she is showing us pictures of, you know, the Montmartre and the Champs-Élysées and the Eiffel Tower. And she says, kids, listen, you are the generation that is going to be able to travel abroad again. You might be seeing Paris or Rome or Istanbul soon. And we all dream together with her what it will be like. But, you know, besides that, what we do, a gym class, we don't do any gym. You don't do any gym. Everybody is just so excited that we put music on, and we can put on any type of music because it's all permitted right now. And the teachers and us, we all dance together the lambada. Life is a total turmoil. You know, there's so much change. Television is on now almost all the time. We see films and series from all over the world, things that we weren't able to see, and telenovelas and, you know, soap things like, what is that? And we see footages of all these other televisions like the BBC and the German television and the Italian and the French one, and they're all talking about the Romanian the Romanian Revolution, because I see this talk show, this French talk show with a few quite famous French actors and other people that I kind of recognize, and they are talking about how the Romanian Revolution can be compared to the French one 200 years ago, and how they even found on the streets of Bucharest, they found a little boy they nicknamed Gavroche, and that's featured in one of these big Paris Match articles. And yeah, but there are also other images. We see images from our own country. We see impoverished places, schools who look like, the last thing on earth you want to send your child to. Factories who thought we were presented that they were, the last type of manufacture, and how people really worked into the circumstances over there. We see images of kids, skinny and dirty, behind bars, in something that they call children's homes. And hardly can believe our eyes. And we finally see images of the revolution. We see the deaths of Timișoara aligned on the sidewalk, tens of them, with barbed wire around their ankles. And we see the deaths of Bucharest on a pile. We see the blood, the pools of blood. We see the people and the tanks and the fights. And actually, there's this song that I keep on hearing every day. It's on the radio and it's on TV. And this song is, they put together footages of the revolution in this song. And we see all these images over and over again. And we hear these words of this song, and I hear them. And I'm so, I hear words like, why this life full of nightmares? And from who all these people die? And why am I afraid? And the chorus of this song translates in, God, please God, come and see what's left of humanity. Yeah. Doamne, să vezi ce mai rămas din oameni. So that was it. Thank you for watching, and thank you, my friends, for being here. And I hope you enjoyed. Thanks. And oh, by the way, I like to thank my husband who played the guitar, and he's not on here, but he's there. So for playing along with me. Okay, bye-bye.